So I'm just waiting for the recorder to start. I wouldn't mind, but I got all this ready about an hour ago, and like you come back to it, and nothing's working.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can add Gary.
He says not sure bandwidth, but he'll give it a go if you want to bring him in for 15 minutes.
Right.
We can sing him happy birthday and Blu-ray 4.
The Adobe Audition's now died, and that takes 15 minutes to load. So we are screwed if that this doesn't pop on. But it's so annoying because I got it ready and it's all sat waiting.
Yeah. I seem to have this task that if I let my Surface Pro 3 hibernate, like deep sleep, I've got this task that just uses 20% of the CPU, and done a bit of search. It seems to be driver related.
Yeah.
It's system interrupts, which apparently is all to do with drivers.
No, this is not going to. I'm going to have to reload Adobe Audition now, so we're going to have to. Means we're going to have a 5-minute delay. Oh, there you go. It's just started. I right-clicked on it to end task, and it came back on. Right. Okay. So we're recording the live streams on. I tried to add Gary, but he's on. Like you said, he's got 2 separate things. I'll try and put it on this one. Oh, there you go. That one. Okay. There we go. So we are, I think, now sorted. Let me send this out.
Do you want me to try and invite him in?
I've done it. Although it's
okay.
Actually, it's not showing up. Oh, it's still that thing again, isn't it? I think it's going to fail. I think Skype's going to die. Yeah, I'm going to have to end task Skype and call you back.
Okay.
It seems to be once it does this, it just totally dies. Right, I'll
speak to you again a bit.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Right, I've got you on now. Got all that time to load Skype. Right.
Blimey.
So which one's Gary on?
Let me add in.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, it only shows one. Let me do it a different way.
It's running out of memory. That's the problem with this machine. I think it's just paging crazy.
The only one that would let me add is his Messenger one, I think.
Let's try his other one. But it's got to. If I had the wrong one though, it'll die. All right, I've got the right one. I think this is the one that you sent the message from.
Yeah.
It's got the spinning donut again. I can't click on the add button. It's just Skype. It's just absolutely. It's totally unresponsive on this machine.
Actually, I think. Yeah, it's the right one because it's.
If Skype was responding, it would work.
Yeah.
It's Skype. It's the Skype on this machine. It's just. Oh, is it?
That's I've just added in, but I don't know if it will.
I've got the control back of Skype now. Oh, all the messages just come through now. But it's not added in. Oh, I've lost Skype control again. Right, I can do it now. So if I do it.
Got it. Okay.
Right, there we go.
Like I say, he's not sure about his bandwidth and that will hold up.
Oh, sounds like you're there.
Aha!
I've been fighting. It's took 20 minutes to load Skype. And I think your bandwidth doesn't sound too good.
Sounds worse than mine.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like BT OpenReach have installed it. I think that's the best we're going to get from Gary. Okay, I'll send the link out and he might return. Because that's traumatic to get. I don't know. I'm going to get. I mean, no, it used to be all right. It's just gradually it's gotten slower and slower until it does. Really, it's virtually unusable.
Yeah. You said that's on Windows 8, so it's
the
full desktop version on.
Yeah, yeah. I can hear Gary's background audio.
I don't know if he's on his phone or.
I think Jason's really clear. Ian's broken up like anything.
Right.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I think it's just technology's letting Ian down, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why. Well, I've got fast bandwidth and everything, so
Maybe it's a lag to Germany.
yeah. Right, Gary. Well, we'll go. Gary, we just get the odd laugh every now and again.
I've worked it out. It's about a 30-second lag. I'm not sure this is going to be workable.
Well, let's say good evening, Jason. In 30 seconds' time, good evening, Gary.
Yes, I'll say good evening while we wait for Gary to catch up.
Yeah,
good evening.
It's one of those transatlantic satellite delays from the 1970s. Oh, over to Murray Walker. Right. Well, we'll try and do our best, Gary. Just jump in and we'll see how we go on. But so, Gary, you're over in Ether. So tell it, which you can say yes, you are in another 20 seconds.
I am. Yes, I'm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm over in IFA. I'm here, over in Berlin. I'm here for IFA, which is the big consumer electronics event, and really looking forward to it. I've got Acer's press conference in the morning. That should be good fun.
Yeah, Acer. I've got promised some new stuff. I think Acer, Asus that might be there, and I think Microsoft's on Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, so Microsoft have got a press conference on Friday afternoon. But it sounds like most of the stuff they're going to be talking about is actually going to be announced prior to the press conference anyway. So, and they've actually got a stand in the event this time, which is unusual.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be OEM stuff that they're talking about, but the OEMs may have announced it already. Yeah,
that sounds like that's a bit like Intel did last year. The Intel announced their Core M stuff last year, but all the equipment had previously been announced before they actually got to that press conference.
Yeah. So, well, the line seems to be holding out now. So, what do you think we're gonna see there this week?
Well, I think we're definitely going to see a lot of new Windows 10 devices, be them tablets, convertibles, hybrids. We might even see some phones. There's rumours that Acer are actually bringing a couple of phones over, and a couple of other companies as well, which have been rumoured to be bringing phones with them as well. But unlikely we'll see anything from Microsoft on that side.
Yeah, because I think they've got a separate press conference lined up for that, haven't they?
Yeah, later in the year. So, and that would make sense. It's going to be sort of timed for the full purchases in the States just before Black Friday. So, I think that makes a lot of sense that they're going for that. So, and also I think the Windows 10 mobile build will probably be a bit more stable by then as well.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see any kind of sub 8-inch tablets announced at E4? Or you think that's too early, given that it hasn't completed yet?
Well, I've heard rumours of a 6-inch tablet from one Chinese manufacturers, but I'm not sure whether that will actually see the light of day here, or if it would be running, maybe even running Windows 8 rather than 10. So, I mean, obviously, there's nothing. We've not seen any tablet builds of the Windows 10 mobile stuff, so I'll be interested to see if it happens. And I mean, obviously it's got to happen at some point, but I'm not really hearing much about that here. What I am hearing about is a lot of tablet devices, a lot of all sorts of sizes and shapes, and there was even a rumor of a round tablet. I'm not sure what use that is, but also a round tablet. But there's certainly sort of conventional size ones. There's all sorts of sizes from 8-inch up to 28-inch tablets being rounded around.
I wonder if we'll see any sort of the IoT stuff as well, like embedded versions of Windows 10.
Yeah, certainly can. I suspect IoT is a big focus here this year. There's a lot of home automation stuff being mentioned and things, and I think there's certainly some rumours of Windows 10 IoT stuff being shown. So I'll keep my eyes open for that and see what I happen to find on the show floor.
Oh well, I think last year you found quite a few interesting little bits and pieces that hadn't sort of been really publicised, but there were a few Windows phones. I think you saw some of the low cost ones.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. There always is stuff hidden away in the back rooms. So, we've got a Showstoppers event here on Thursday night, which last year had a lot of Windows stuff which hadn't been announced prior to that. So I'm expecting to see similar things again. What I've certainly found with IFA is a lot of stuff gets shown but doesn't get announced. it's quite weird, really. I think it's almost like they pre-show it to the press to give you an idea that might be coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this stuff. So where we could probably see some of your stuff on Twitter. Yeah.
Just follow me at Gary WMA, and I'll be live posting whatever I can on Twitter. Some of the press conferences they don't let you do that, but other ones they will do. So we'll see. And it'll be everything and all and sundry from laptops to cookers. And I'm seriously on there. There's one of the press conferences is at.
Go on, say it again. Oh, his legs kicking in. One of his press conferences at. We'll never know what it's at.
We'll never know. It's IFA. Is that? It's not really consumer, is it? It's an industry event, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not really targeted at consumers, but it is, I think, buyers and that kind of thing.
Which I guess makes sense why some of the conferences, why some of the keynotes would be kind of confidential.
Yeah, go on, Gary.
Yeah, it's very true that this IFA event, although the consumers are in, and you get quite a lot of locals turn on some of the latter days. It's primarily aimed at selling equipment to the well, not even the retailers, to the warehouses and the wholesalers. And it's usually sort of getting the lines in, which will be in place not so much for Christmas, but for spring and summer, the previous next year.
Right. Yeah. I think, for me personally, I think it's sort of the low cost tablets that I want to see. I want to see the Windows 10 generation of low cost tablets.
Yeah, well, I certainly think we're going to see a lot of those. I mean, basically, that's almost every second press release I've had for this has been about Windows 10 tablet. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot about that. It's either home automation, Windows 10 tablet, or, funnily enough, connected TV, as in network TV. That seems to be a big subject this year. So I don't know if maybe the Deaf Media Centre has opened up a new market.
Yeah, so that's TVs that have got apps on them, that kind of network DLNA. No,
more actually. TV's been one aerial source, but broadcast around the house.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah.
So single source, a bit like the whole silicon dust type stuff, but a few more varieties of that. There's some quite interesting ideas behind it. Which will be quite, see how they're implemented will be quite interesting. There's one which basically is supposed to allow you to send TV to your Chromecast devices from an aerial socket.
Well, but that would be quite handy. But it's getting all the backup, isn't it? The EPG and all the other stuff to go with it.
Yeah, and most of these are very, very Europe-centric, Germany particularly. I mean, Germany's got a huge DVB-T market anyway, so it makes sense that they would fill that gap. Because I mean, Germany was one of the biggest users of Media Center as well, so it does come kind of. You can see there is an opening.
Yeah. Well, it sounds interesting, so we'll keep following you on that. Are you going to stay with us, or do you want to get going now?
I'm probably got about another 5 minutes of Wi-Fi, so I'll stay with you while that's on. And if I disappear off, I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll do that. Right, go on, Jason.
I was going to say it's interesting that kind of they're looking at doing that sort of setup with TVs, because essentially that's what the Xbox One's trying to do, isn't it? That you plug a tuner into the Xbox One and you can watch TV on a smart device. Using the smart glass, or what will probably become the Xbox app.
Yeah,
you can record TV and you can copy it down to your tablet. And I think those sort of things, especially with Wi-Fi becoming so prevalent, it's pretty much every house has got Wi-Fi. It's not necessarily that every room in a house has got a TV point. So if you can distribute content, but it certainly still can, kind of brings into question. Sky still do their multi-room package, I believe, and obviously that, if you've got a TV or a set-top box that can broadcast TV around the house, that kind of puts that revenue stream under pressure.
Yeah, and
yes, yeah, we've mentioned that before.
Yeah, and a multi-room is quite an expensive option, especially because essentially you're running another. In some cases, I think the multi-room is another tuner box in its own right, isn't it?
It is, yes, absolutely,
LMB.
yeah.
Whereas a network-enabled one gets around that. Although, I suppose, really, a few, maybe if my kids are now 13, 10, if they were 13 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, that might be something that they were clamoring for. But now they don't seem to be bothered because they only really watch Netflix or YouTube.
Yeah, it is interesting though. I mean, we talk about this all the time, and it really highlights just how much ahead of its time Media Centre was. Because one of the things that I particularly liked about Media Centre was it was one of the only, maybe, or certainly one of the few solutions that didn't kind of, any recordings you made weren't trapped inside this set-top box from your cable supplier. It's something that you recorded, you could actually watch in any room, with an Xbox 360 as an extender, or, copy the recorded TV file. Obviously, I appreciate that's not as simple in the States, but certainly over here, you could just copy the WTV file onto another device and watch it. So, like I say, that's, you take a product like Sky or even the Freeview boxes, and anything you record is, you can't get it out, you can't get it off that box.
No, but then I suppose what mitigates that is stuff like BBC iPlayer but not on a Windows laptop. Really, I don't think it's possible anymore, is it? But on the iOS and Android ones, you can download for offline playback. But I don't think you can do that now, can you? Actually, I haven't tried that. I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, I know iPlayer's changed quite a bit. They've now got kind of like almost like a viewing scheduler for shows that are your favourites. But
sorry, just to interrupt, you can download.
Yeah, got you. But I mean, certainly where this concept takes off is actually because, yes, it's easy to get content onto a smaller device like a tablet or a phone, but it's not so easy to get this onto another TV in another room, which is, still, as an older generation, is still my preference for watching television. And like you, Ian, has a huge phone that you can watch things on.
Yeah, but
sorry, let's just say maybe that's why we're getting 28-inch to 40-inch tablets being muted at IFA.
Yeah. Also wondered if that circular tablet, I wonder if that's for meetings where you need to pass it around the room. You could just frisbee it.
I was thinking.
I couldn't work that one out at all.
I was thinking of the triangle one, but on The Office, in the American version of The Office, they had a triangle shaped one. So maybe someone's took inspiration from that.
Yeah, possibly. Just the old hockey puck, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HP Media Center device.
Yeah, that was a good bit of kit.
Yeah. And there was a
see, round's the new square. or oblong or rectangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see though that these companies coming up with that's trying the challenge of that sort of being able to deliver TV around the home via a single aerial. I think there is a market for that, especially if you're looking to do a Freeview solution and not pay for Sky Multiroom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think the use of, because there's a big market for it over here, that they'll get it rounded out, and then it might be quite useful to have in UK. I mean, you've only got to look at the tuner suppliers we've always had in the UK have mainly been German suppliers.
Yeah, true.
Hauppauge, so basically, those people, that technology tends to be rounded off over here before it gets sent out to the UK. So I think if they get the guide data sorted out, and obviously with Freeview, you have got quite a significant amount of over-the-air guide data, and I believe there's even more of that now being broadcast. So maybe you don't need to have the online guide services to do this properly.
Yeah, maybe. And actually, speaking of guide services, I've got Ray Stacey contacted me on Twitter today saying there's no guide data in Media Centre beyond 6th September at the moment.
Oh.
But this happens every now and again, doesn't it? Where with Media Centre, where something breaks and they get very close to the date and then they get it back again. But people do rely on the
I
guide
guess it
data.
still is under support.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. I think Gary's satellite delay kicking in. Anyway, so that's it. I'll include a link to the Connect post for that anyway. If anybody's it may well be sorted by the time that the show is out. But yeah, if you're missing guide data in the UK, it's not just you. It's everyone. It's not just you. Right. So, what other news did we have to talk about this week? Well, even though we were off last week, it's actually been relatively quiet. I was away last week, and I was keeping track of the news, but there wasn't a huge amount of news to talk about. But we did get a new build of Windows 10. Jason, did you give it a try? Oh, hello?
I'm still here.
Where's Jason gone? He says he's there. I can't restart Skype again. It's too much. It's too much. Jason, where have you gone?
Oh, his microphone's broken.
Yeah.
Hello?
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, for some reason Skype decided to change my microphone back to...
Funny, I just said that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there.
I'm really glad it's your end. I didn't have to download Skype again. I haven't got the will to live that much.
Yeah, literally, it changed from my headphone USB audio device to the headset on, well, the microphone point on the Surface Pro 3.
How about
2 weeks ago? I had that last show that happened to me.
Very strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I haven't tried the new build on my Surface Pro 3 as I mentioned before. I'm going to keep that on the RTM build, just because I rely on it so much. But what I did do is span up a VM which has got a Windows 7 on it and upgraded that to Windows 10. Actually, Windows 8.1 to Windows 10. So that's now activated and has now joined the Insiders program. So I downloaded the most recent build, which I think, as you commented in your post in, there's not an awful lot. There's kind of some new context menus. There's obviously the new memory compression technology, which I've not really seen much of. But then with it being in a VM, I haven't really got that much running. But yeah, it's I've seen some people say that they have installed it on physical hardware. It seems to be a bit more stable. It'd be interesting to see, where that goes. It's kind of a bit disappointing for me that the upgrades, the new builds are still complete new builds. They're not just servicing, which I still have that question mark. I mean, they've announced that 75 million people upgraded from whatever version of Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10, but are those people ready to do yet another whole system update? Now, I appreciate that's the way that iOS and Android tablets work, but people aren't necessarily used to seeing that with a PC, and I just wonder if people are really ready for that you might see some kickback in terms of people thinking, well, I upgraded to Windows 10 and now my machine's doing yet another upgrade,
another 2-day upgrade of your broadband speed.
Yes, and again, whether or not then Microsoft would kind of filter that so that it would only go to certain people first.
Yeah.
And then that also raises the question of, if I'm still on Windows 7 and I decide to upgrade to Windows 10 after Threshold 2 is actually out, does that mean I'd go straight to Threshold 2? Which I think logically, yes, you would, but it does raise a few questions.
Yes, I think you would go to Threshold 2. Yeah, and
it makes sense.
I think they'll be. Well, they haven't really said how they're going to do it. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I'm not really bothered if it's one update, but like I said, I suppose it is a bit inconvenient, especially if you upgrade to Windows 10 maybe a week before the Threshold 2 announcement, and then availability, and then you've got another week later you've got to do the full upgrade again. So it would be good if there was some sort of delta change Delta update for it. But
yeah, I mean, I know Gabe has said that is their intention, that they will switch to servicing releases, but I mean, I would imagine there'll be some kind of period where they actually stop the Windows 10 upgrades while they switch over to Threshold 2.
Yeah, that's a bit like they did when they released Windows 10. They stopped the insider builds. But
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go on. I was just going to say what I'm more interested in is really how long it takes to start really talking about availability of Windows 10 mobile. Because I imagine they'll probably try and coincide the Threshold 2 release with the Windows Mobile release. Sorry, Windows 10 Mobile, which I think is maybe why they're not talking about that date just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that October date, isn't it? So I think they'll announce new hardware running with Windows 10 Mobile, Threshold 2. The whole thing will all be sort of tied together. Then the timing will all come together.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be interesting when they do start talking about that kind of date. Obviously, I think whether or not they'll save that announcement for October when they announce the new hardware. Rumors of a Surface Pro 4 device. We've even seen one rumor of a Surface Pro 4 maybe having 16 gig of RAM, which would definitely be a big interesting point for me. 8's a bit squeezy for what I like to use my Surface Pro 3 for.
You like your RAM like I like my screen size.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Sig was a hungry beast.
Yeah. But on that build, so the build that was released this week was 10532. And like you said, the only real change I could see was the context menus when you use the mouse and the long press. And now they seem to have got rid of some of the old Windows 8.1 style menus, the desktop style menus. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing. And some of the menus now appear in black instead of white as they were before. So I think they're taking the system theme colors from that.
Yes, yeah, I noticed that, and it is interesting. It's one of the things that people have talked about for many years. I mean, there's still some. You look at, I don't know if it's still the same, but certainly in Windows 7 and Windows 8 days, the old fonts dialog box was, Windows 3.1 almost era. So I know Microsoft have been pressed, and insiders are always talking about the inconsistencies and menus, and Microsoft has clearly taken that one to heart, because I think as this product evolves, I think consistency in menus is key. You need people to be familiar and not be jarred with an odd menu that's from like 2 or 3 versions ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the consistency is what you really want, isn't it? And because that's what makes a better experience.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But there is one bit of a gotcha with this new build that I think Gary's gone now. He's used his bandwidth up.
Yeah, we forgot to wish him a happy birthday.
Oh yeah, so happy birthday, Gary! Even though you can't hear us anymore.
Yes.
There is one issue that with this is it doesn't work very well with certain Broadcom drivers. And
yes, I saw you say that. Yeah.
So like Toshiba brought on Core 8, I upgraded that, and instead of having the Wi-Fi indicator in the taskbar, I had just a red, little cross showing no network, and it's not starting the driver. And I thought it was me at first, so I went through and selected earlier versions of the drivers and tried downloading some drivers, which is difficult when you can't get on the network. So I was faffing around with files, but it wouldn't ever start the driver; it would time out. Anyway, so I went on the Answers forum on the Insider program, and there's a big long thread on that on there. So it's not just my own Core 8. It seems to be the Broadcom 802.11 wireless SDIO devices, and there's many people on there with various devices from different manufacturers. ThinkPad, Asus T100. There's all sorts really. So it seems to be a bit of a nasty bug, that one. It's just preventing the driver from starting.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. As you say, that's quite a widely used chipset. So I'm amazed that didn't come up in Microsoft's own internal testing as a significant kind of reason not to upgrade to it. Yeah,
and of course, once you get on that, you're stuck then, because you can't get even if they fix it via an update, you can't get it. So I rolled back to previous versions. First time I've done that, and that worked fine. So my Encore is back on, was it the previous build, and my Link 7 here is on the newer build. But interestingly enough, this Link 7 wouldn't see the new build, the 10512, wasn't it? I think the previous one to this one. So when they released that, so it wasn't last Friday, it was a previous Thursday, I think, or something like that, wasn't it? That they released that new build.
Yeah, there wasn't a massive gap, was it, between them?
Well, because I like you, I keep my Surface Pro 3 clean, so I wasn't trying it on that, but on these two tablets, I thought I'd do it. And the Encore 8 saw the update, and the Link 7 wouldn't see the update. I think I might even mention this on the last show, actually. I even did a PC, rolled it back to Windows 8.1 and did an upgrade, and it just wouldn't see it anyway. So I gave that up, and then I got back off holiday this week, and it picked up the update. So for some reason, that previous build it wouldn't see. This one it would see. So this one's working now. The Encore 8 is working again, but on the older build. So I just to keep my eye on the thread. So yeah, it's a bit of a nasty bug, that one, because if it's your only device, you couldn't even get the answers for them to see if it was you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I suppose nowadays people have multiple devices. But
yeah, interesting. If we so my wife completed her upgrade to Windows 10 on her Surface Pro 2, and that seems to have quite an annoying bug. Which, looking in the answers forums, there's loads of people reporting the same issue. So I don't think it's unique to her device. But basically, the device doesn't go to sleep properly. So she kind of hits the power button to put it into sleep. Now, the Surface Pro 2 didn't have connected standby, so it should go into, I think it would be kind of S3 sleep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But literally 20 seconds later, it wakes up again, and the screen comes back on. And then if you leave it, it goes back off. And then again, about 20, 30 seconds later, it just comes back on. And I think it's either maybe USB related or kind of network related, but basically just the Surface Pro 2 just keeps waking itself up from sleep. So frustrating for her, she leaves it unplugged at night. By come the morning, it's pretty much drained its battery. So hopefully they'll get something fixed that. Whether or not we'll see some firmware updates, it's Patch Tuesday a week today, isn't it? So I kind of hope we might see some firmware updates to maybe resolve those.
Yeah, they should. I mean, that if there's any devices that they can get right, it's got to be those, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it does seem to be quite widespread. So I'm surprised it's not one of the ones they've fixed quite quickly. Whether or not it is that it does need a firmware or a driver update, I don't know. But yeah, for her it's quite frustrating. But it was quite funny. So I said that I was going to leave things alone and I wasn't going to upgrade it for it. It was all down to her. She opted in. She'd choose when to install it. Well, happened to be she ran the installation, or actually got prompted to install one day when I was at work, and so I got home, and literally I think I barely walked in the door, and the first sentence I got was, "So I've installed this Windows 10. How do I get rid of the desktop? I don't want it. I don't use it." Which, we've talked about how people that got used to Windows 8.1, she liked the way it worked, and tablet mode's gone some way to do that, but she still kind of sees the desktop more than she's used to. And certainly the Edge browser, she misses the old Windows Metro browser where the first thing it did was popped up recent sites, but she could still have Google as a homepage. So Edge, you can get it to prompt, most recently used sites, but you have to use their, the new tabs, and for some reason, Edge doesn't let you select Google as a search engine.
Oh. I thought it did now. I thought you could do.
I don't know if it's that in one of the preview builds, but certainly, so in advanced settings, my search options, I can choose between Bing. Actually, no, I've got Bing and Add New now. Actually, before I had the Windows, I had OneDrive. So,
because I'm sure if
sorry, no, I click Add New, and I can choose between OneDrive, support2.microsoft.com, and twitter.com.
Yeah. I just thought that if you want, I'm sure I read that once you changed it over to Google, then Cortana uses Google.
I don't know. I mean, like I say, you can set Google to be your homepage, but in terms of searching from the address bar, your choices are Bing or OneDrive or support, at Microsoft. So whether or not that's because Google haven't written, because Google are big supporters of Windows.
Yes,
I'm sure they'll be right up there to write, because I know if you install Firefox, you can choose Google as your default search engine, and that will switch Cortana over.
That's what I've read then.
Yeah, but it just seems odd. one thing I haven't really spent a lot of time with the updated Windows 10 build is actually playing around with Edge. It seems to be mostly developer stuff they're adding at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I really like Edge. I think it's a really good browser. There's a few things missing. The shared favorites and tabs on other devices is just, it seems a really odd omission, and I know why it's not there, because it ran out of time. But it just seemed really strange not to have that in there.
Yes, yeah, it does seem really strange.
And I guess that's one of the features that we'll get in the Threshold 2 announcement or release.
Yeah, which hopefully we'll start to hear some more details about quite soon.
Yeah, because if they want, what we're in now, September now, aren't we? So if they want to get the messaging features and everything in, then they've got to get on with that. It should be seeing that soon.
Yeah, I mean, I did wonder whether or not maybe in the next build or two that we'll start to see some significant kind of end user features added. I mean, certainly if these things are going to go into Windows Mobile, they've got to start appearing soon. Again, I mean, if they're looking for, because I think originally the plan was that, you know, Windows 10 and Windows 10 Mobile would launch at the same time, but obviously they brought the desktop version forward to meet the kind of back to school, you know, sales period, which they've never hit for a long time. Like not since Windows 95 or something. But yeah, I think these two things will pretty much finish at the same time. So they must be heading for kind of an October release, I would have thought.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get hold of those, because it just seems really odd when I use, especially the Lynx or the Encore 7-inch tablet and the 8-inch tablet, and when an app quits, it just every now and again it goes back to the desktop, doesn't it? Windows 10, and you see the Skype full screened because it's running in the background. And it just looks odd on a small tablet. I mean, the old modern Skype was great. I do miss that. I think it just looks the desktop Skype looks really out of place on a small tablet.
Yes, I agree.
And also I don't like the way it kind of runs in all the time, and it's just an old-fashioned way of working, isn't it? And well, Microsoft know that because that's why they've got the new version coming. I mean, like for example, you don't get the notifications in Action Center and things like that. I mean, you get a message in the desktop Skype, and it still takes 5 minutes for you to find where it's gone.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I'm certainly hoping that we might see a really near finished Windows 10 mobile build soon. I'm kind of itching to give it a try.
Yeah, so my last build, or the build that we're on now, which is 105.12, I think, isn't it? That is actually really good on this 630, and I really like it. It's almost good enough. If it wasn't for the fact that it was a bit of a nightmare upgrading it last time, I would have put it on my 1520. So yeah, I'm very tempted to do that, but I'm holding off. I'll probably wait till the next build. In fact, I've got an 830 here from Microsoft to test. I'm very tempted to put it on Windows 10 and use that. But I'll do the review with Windows 8.1. It's a nice phone, actually, that 830.
Yeah, I did take quite a close look at that for my wife, but I just decided that it would be better to hold off and see what comes, in October.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean you would be, well, if as a normal user it's fine. You just get what suits you now. But as an enthusiast, yeah, you better wait in another month or so to see what comes. But even then, I think these are going to be high-end devices. Whether we'll get any new low-end ones, I don't know, because I don't know. The 640 XL is a good combination of devices.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you one thing though. When we talk and I hear other people talking about the app gap, well, I have to say the Impossible Mission team managed to use the Surface Pro 3 to break into a high-tech security building that nobody else could penetrate. So I didn't see that app running on iOS or Android. So there.
Yeah, well, I've seen. If you watch the following, they catch bad guys using serial killers using the Surface. So it's good for crime. I've seen a few other things. I think when I watched recently where they used the Surface, even though it was set in the future. Oh, it was Humans. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Use the Surface Pro 3 to hack into.
An Android. So.
Yes.
It's obviously the device of choice for future hacking.
Yes, that's some irony there, isn't there? A Surface Pro 3 hacking Android.
Yes, absolutely. Microsoft seem to do quite well with their product placements at the moment, don't they? If, a lot of films you see them using Lumias.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly are pushing them in. That's why I get so frustrated. You know, they talk about Windows Mobile kind of globally as at 3%, but actually there are some real pockets of success. And you know, I took my youngest. He'd won through his school some tickets to see Peterborough United, so we went on Saturday, and the guy sat a couple of rows in front of me had a Windows phone, and you know, they certainly are growing in popularity. You only have to watch some of the ITV based soaps. You know, Emmerdale and Coronation Street, they've all got Windows phones.
Yeah,
they're certainly there, and I think, you know, people are familiar with what they are. And like I say, I think the States, which is a traditional kind of iPhone and definitely Android, you know, stronghold, I think it does hide the success of Windows Phone, and like I say, in certain markets.
When I was on holiday last week, it's a good chance to do a bit of people watching and to have a look at what phones they've got. And really, they've either got an iPhone, an Android, and it's usually always a Samsung. I really didn't see any other phones other than Samsung, or you see Windows phones. And like you said, you do see them. You know, it's not the same quantities of iOS or Android, but there's certainly not a huge variety of Android phones. You do see the odd cheaper one, but they all seem to be various versions of the Samsung, so the S3, S4, S5, or whatever, and iPhone. And then you never see an iPhone. What is it? C5C, you know, the coloured one.
I've seen a few of them around.
Yeah, so I didn't see many of those, but yeah, we definitely had. Do you see a lot of Windows phones? My kids are always, when somebody drops a call and they've got you know, an iPhone or an Android phone, they'll say you should get a Lumia. So they're always evangelizing the Lumias now because they really like those. In fact, it's funny, we were sort of talking about phones, and my sister was there, and she's got an iPhone 6, and we were talking about my grandmother who's in her 90s now, and if you ring her from an iPhone, she can't hear you properly because she's, you know, pretty deaf anyway. And so ringing from a mobile isn't very good, really, if you can avoid it. But when I ring from my 1520, she can hear me better. So we tried it, and yeah, the 1520 is definitely clearer than an iPhone 6 for the receiving person. Now, you know, maybe it's not for everybody, but it just in my anecdotal test of doing it last week, it seemed to. So I used my 1520, and she could hear me a lot better. So she said it sounds a lot clearer. So, yep, that's what the kids say. You should get a Lumia.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting if you think, you know, well, I mean, I think the market share in the UK is something like 10%, isn't it? And that's with people complaining that it doesn't have enough apps. Imagine if this Windows 10, you know, universal app platform takes off. You know, if we can get to 10% with missing apps, what can it do if, you know, the apps do start appearing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I think it will be interesting, but yeah, it's frustrating how globally it's always looked at globally or from a US perspective. And yes, it's not successful. Yes, it's not successful in Europe as we would like, but 10% is still a good. You know, it's 1 in 10 people.
Yeah,
you know, that's quite a good penetration, really, given, you know, that the devices haven't necessarily had to push them. I mean, it's silly, you know, it's frustrating seeing the Samsung Galaxy advert with the wireless charging, which, you know, Umis have had for years. I don't know other devices as well as have, but, you know, it's such a simple advert. You know, why didn't, you know, Windows Phone have that kind of simple advert? It's, you know, it's a big plus selling point.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I reviewed a Acer budget Android phone I posted today. It was sort of a €90 phone, and compare that to a budget Lumia, like say the 425 or maybe the 5, whether it is 35 or whatever they are now. The pound, you know, your value for money is much better with the Lumia. You get a way better camera. The camera on the Acer was pretty poor, really, and which you think, well, okay, for whatever, €89, 70 quid, that's what you expect. But you can get a Lumia for 70 quid with a much better camera, and the low-end processor on the Ace and the Android phone meant it was a bit jerky going from screen to screen and loading apps. It was okay, but it wasn't as smooth as one of the low-end Lumias, which all of them work really well on low-end with a low-end processor, and the build quality and everything. So really, I think as hardware, which is something we've said before, but the hardware, the low cost budget Lumias are good value for money. The app gap is maybe a perception, but get rid of that, and there is a huge potential.
Yes, yeah, definitely, and it's certainly starting to make those kind of movements. We've seen, Fitbit announce their Windows 10 universal app. I keep hoping, now we've got Groove Music on Sonos that we'll hear about the Sonos app soon. You can't imagine that sort of partnership. I mean, at the moment, Groove Music being on Sonos, that's the only music platform that doesn't also have an app. There's Apple Music's on there. You've got Android Music, Amazon. They all have all their platforms have apps. So hopefully the Groove one the Windows 10 app isn't too far away.
Yeah, I think it would be a great time to announce it at the mobile launch when it is Sonos.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Okay, what other Windows news do we have this week? Yes, there's a new NVIDIA driver. I think really it's only if you're playing certain games, but it's good to see new drivers for video cards. I mean, it made me think back to what it was like when Vista was launched, and you couldn't get a driver for love nor money then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's good to see. I did review another app, another device, which is the Acer Switch 11, which is a Windows 8.1 machine, which should run Windows 10 quite nicely. And an interesting device. It's more expensive than the Switch 10. The Acer's ones are the ones that come apart. So you can use it as a tablet or you can use it as a desktop. But 11-inch for the 11-inch screen just make it feel a bit on the clunky side. But I think it would make a nice Windows 10 device.
Yeah. I mean, the Surface Pro 3 I find kind of gets away with it basically on its kind of form factor, but it's
the one issue I had with this is the keyboard to stop it from toppling over, because it's not got a kickstand like the Surface, so there's weight in the keyboard, and it's got a 500 gig spinning hard drive in there, so the whole thing is actually quite heavy. It's heavier than a traditional laptop in many ways. And then when you separate it, you've only got a 32 gig drive in there. So yeah, I prefer the form factor of something like the Surface, but it's £351, including the keyboard. So you can't get a Surface 3 for that price.
Yeah.
So interesting device, but I'll include a link to that in the video. But it would run quite nicely on Windows 10 quite nicely. What else?
Actually, just quickly, we talk about people between the three of us, whether or not we're any good at predicting the future or not. And funny enough, yesterday, I think it was either yesterday or Sunday, I was just happened to be talking to my wife and said, "You think in this day and age, consoles like the Xbox One and the PS4 would come with solid state drives?" And what was announced yesterday?
Oh yeah.
The Xbox One Elite with it. Well, it's not a true solid state drive; it's a solid state hybrid drive, which is part mechanical moving parts and then like a solid state cache for kind of frequently accessed items. So I almost predicted the future.
Almost, yeah. That it's quite expensive though, isn't it?
It is, but it does include the Elite controller, which is also an expensive. So I think overall, I think you've got to be a true gamer, haven't you, to want that? And I think from that perspective, I think it's quite good value for money. The fact that it includes that controller, and a solid state hybrid drive is going to make a big difference to the operating system starting up. And if you've just recently played a game, it should all be cached, hopefully on the SSD element. So but yeah, I mean, it's certainly not cheap. But then it does go back. The old Xbox 360 had an Elite version, didn't it, which I think had a bigger hard drive. And
yes, you're right.
I can't remember, was it the Elite that had the HDMI first, I think?
It might have been, yeah.
Might have been, yeah. So it's certainly not, it's certainly kind of going back to, the old Xbox Elite type branding, which was a slightly more premium device. I
think I'm going to have to get an external hard drive for my Xbox One. I think I'm up to sort of 80% now, and when the DVR stuff comes out, you need a drive anyway. So I think I'm going to have to look at that.
Yeah, actually, one thing I haven't seen this anywhere, and I can't remember if we talked about this before, but the so the tuner for the Xbox One, you can't plug more than one in, can you?
No,
It's not designed to be dual tuner,
no, no.
which will hopefully come at some point.
Yes, especially if they do the dual tuner with a single coax, that would be a nice addition.
Yeah, I really need a satellite-based version. I do wonder, actually, it makes sense. I know they've kind of done it in the States, haven't they? With it's basically a rebranded Hole Podge tuner. I wonder if they will open it up to third parties, because traditionally that is what they've done.
Yes, I wonder. I do. Yeah. Well, with Media Center, obviously, you could use any tuner really that had Windows 10, Windows 7, or Windows 8 one drivers or whatever. But yeah, I wonder if they would do that, or they tend with the Xbox One to keep things a closed system, don't they, with certified devices? And I'm not sure because I know it's a rebranded one in the States, but I think the plan is to release an actual Xbox branded one in the future.
I think it's got Xbox. I was listening. This is kind of listening to Josh Pollard. I think it is they are gonna have an Xbox branded one, but it will still be the rebadged tuning device. But yeah, I mean, obviously Xbox has got peripherals. You know, you can get different headsets and different gaming controllers. So, and that's it's not unprecedented. But yeah, I do wonder whether or not they will try and keep some kind of control over it. But it would be nice to have the satellite option.
Yes, it would. Yeah, and for Europe as well. I know it's something Gary's talked about in the past. And they a lot of in Europe they're using the DVB-S. So if they are a DVB-C, the cable, so it would be nice to have options to suit your country, and not just a DVB-T.
Yeah, because it will be interesting, obviously, with the States. You know, the way their TV system works, and over-the-air tuner is actually quite limited in terms of being able to get cable content. I guess they'll be crying out for a cable card adapter.
Yeah, which I don't think is ever going to happen.
No.
And I think it's it's apps, isn't it, for the third-party content, premium content, Netflix, Hulu, that kind of thing. I noticed actually my son started to use the iPlayer on his Xbox quite a bit now, the iPlayer app, to watch some BBC programs on catch-ups. Like I said, he never watches live stuff, but he was watching The Next Step or what, some dreadful.
Oh yes, my youngest watches that. Oh
dear. Any parents listening will probably know what we're talking about. It's
yes.
I think it's Canadian. They said terrible dance.
Yeah, it's a soap, isn't it? Really? Disguised as a dance show.
Yeah, but he was sort of catching up on and using iPlayer on the Xbox One to catch up on it. But yeah, they've got a lot of devices to choose from. They can watch it on all these different devices. What else have we got to finish off? So VLC for Windows 10 was updated, and there's now a beta for Windows Mobile. So there's a separate beta track. Mainly UI changes. It looks quite good, actually. It's a very nice looking app now. A lot of good work goes into the VLC project.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I seem to have some good guys over there.
Oh, and too, I do want to mention as well is MB Server has now added support for live TV without third-party software. So if with the HD Home Road and Silicon Dust tuner that we were talking about, Gary was talking about, you can now use that for live TV and recording TV without having to use a third-party program like Media Center. So if you're going to go to Windows 10 and you want a TV solution, then that is definitely one option. And Stuart on there has also done a really good post last week about switching to MB. So if you're interested in MB, and which was Media Browser, then you can now use it with live TV. And there's a good post on TDL about switching over. Cortana is now available for Android. We mentioned Android before. Only, I think if you've got a US phone, it wouldn't even allow me to install it on my phone. But I'm interested to try it to see how it compares to the Windows version.
Yes, yeah.
That's one other good thing I sort of mentioned about Windows Phone before. I was out for the day at the weekend into London and went on the train. So it was a full sort of out all day. And I still had sort of 30% battery charge, and that was using the Tube Map and Nokia Transit or Here Transit, and using it all day really for getting around. And other people's iPhones had all died by that time, and 1520 carried on. So that's a relatively old model now, isn't it? So we get plenty of good battery life from them.
Yes, yeah.
I'm still waiting to see what. Apparently, the new ones. There's a rumor is the new ones got quick charge and things like that. But we'll have to wait and see for those.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I want out of USB-C is the fact you can. It doesn't matter which way around you put the cable.
Yeah.
No, but I always put my micro USB, try and put it in the wrong way around, no matter how hard I try.
But it seems to be you do it and it doesn't go in, so you turn it over, it doesn't go in. You turn it back to the original way and it goes in.
Yeah. You turn it, even though it's the right way. You can tell. Most of them have got like a little nub on them or some sort of diagram, so it's the right way. But even so, you still turn it over.
Yeah, absolutely. It always happens. That's the rule of USB.
Yes.
So next week we may even have a new build. We might get a phone build this week, I think.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like they've got a good stable build in the pipeline. So yeah, I think we should hopefully start to see that kind of cadence speed up quite a bit.
And we should have some stuff from IFA to talk about when Microsoft's press conference is on Friday afternoon, I think, in the UK time, and it's being streamed live.
Yes, that's a good way of making sure people don't fly home early on a Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, most of the journalists will be gone by then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we should be back next week. Although I am out next Tuesday, so we'll either record Wednesday or you guys can record without me. We'll see what we're up to next week. But follow me on Twitter and we'll sort that out. So where can we follow you?
You can follow me at Database Jace.
And so thanks to Gary for joining us with his Wi-Fi. Thanks for Skype for making us 20-minute delay.
From his satellite phone.
From the 1980s. I'll tell you what, briefly, one thing I will mention that I went to a museum last week, Amberley in Sussex, it is. Mm-hmm. And it's like a working museum, and there's all different technology things there, industrial technology and woodworking and things. But there was also a telecoms section built by BT, and they had telephone boxes and showing you phones from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they had a telephone exchange, the old electromechanical exchange, clicking thing. So, I mean, for me, it was like, yeah, okay, whatever, phones. But my kids, and I took my niece who's 7, they'd never used a landline. So they had absolutely brilliant time by picking up a phone, because they all have 4-digit extension numbers or exchange numbers, because it's a real exchange that they got from BT when it was, so they could ring them. So they were ringing each other. They had a hilarious time. So I was thinking, well, so we spent 2 hours while they rang each other and rang phone boxes and things. So just shows you how times move on. And
you should give them a video cassette recorder and let them really have some fun.
Yeah, I will do that. Right, so I'll see you next week, and
yes,
we'll speak to you then.
Yeah, cheers, Ian.
Okay, good stuff. I think we're just about got there. Just about.
Wonders of technology.
Yep. Right, so I'll speak to you. So I won't be